What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shan Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
And Chris Abacon.
What's going on, everybody?
What's going on? So, welcome to the Monday episode of the podcast. So, if you're listening to us on podcast platforms around the world, Monday, Tuesday, our topics, Wednesday, discussion, Thursdays, Ask a CISSP. I keep swearing I have one. I do, but I'm saving it because we're going on a holiday break, but we'll talk about that later. And then Fridays, everything else, movies, books, games, all that cool stuff. But if you're listening to us on the radio, we're on 99.1 FM. We're on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern in the Atlanta metro area, or TuneIn app where you can listen to us anywhere you want to. And then finally, throughout the week, we're on channel 10 in the DC Fairfax area on public access. But without further ado, I give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this article comes from the Hacker News. It's written by Ravi Lakshmanan. And the title of this one is New HTTP Botnet. Wow, it's a mouthful. Launches 200 plus precision DDoS attacks on gaming and tech sectors, right? So cybersecurity researchers, right? They're calling attention to this new botnet malware called, let's see if I can get it right this time, HTTPBot. Right? Ooh, got it. And it's been used to single out the gaming industry, right? So the way this one works is it uses something called Golang, right? Which is Go language. Apparently, I didn't know what this was when I saw this, but apparently it's more along the lines of stuff that you use for not necessarily Windows systems like this one is targeted to. But I was like, what is Golang? I had to look that up. I was not familiar with it, but yeah, this right here, man, various attack modules you could do through this, right? So browser attack, HTTP auto attack, HTTP FPDI attack, which uses the HTTP 2 protocol, WebSocket attack, cookie attack, post attack. So yeah, usually when you have these different types of botnets, it's for the Linux and IoT platforms, right? Which we talk about all the time about the IoT platforms not being properly, what am I trying to say here? Like hardened. You know what I mean? So people not updating them like they should be, or even the companies themselves not providing firmware as often as they should or patches as often as they should. Because of that, it makes this, a lot easier to go after, right? But yeah, but the fact that they're going after the gaming industry, I think it's one of those things where the nefarious actors out there realize where their bread is buttered now, right? So when it comes to gaming, like the advances that we're seeing, like it's crazy. The amount of advances we're seeing in gaming and the amount of time and money that's being put into it. So their audience is just getting larger and larger as time goes on. So it just makes for a broader base to attack with this. But yeah, 200 plus precision DDoS attacks, right? So tech sector, gaming sector, watch out there. They're coming for you, right? So, Chris, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, this is a really interesting botnet because the author, he really points out it's really different from usual, right? Because this one works like a scalpel. It's a targeted DDoS attack, right? So this way, it's actually going for specific systems rather than just flooding network traffic, right? In general, right? So in this case, because it's targeting the gaming industry, imagine logging into your favorite game and suddenly the servers are down because not just because of the outage, it's because it's being actively targeted by that DDoS, right? So it's really sophisticated in its execution because this botnet, right, it hides in like a GUI or rather a graphical user interface to evade any type of detection, and it modifies any Windows registries upon startup. And then, as you know, most botnets they work in some type of command and control, right? They've got millions of, thousands of affected users, and then there's some remote server that's kind of like the hub, right, per se. But it's been targeting this specific HTTP bot has been targeting like tourism portals in China, educational institutions and technology firms, and most specifically gaming platforms, right? So any players that can't access their accounts or, technology firms or education, they can't access their education, their learning environment or tourism portals, right? That's revenue lost in China, right? So it's really interesting because it's not just about blocking traffic. It's about understanding like the behavior and adapting to like real things or these botnets in real time, right? So I mean that usually from a technology perspective, you have to be paying a lot of money to the cybersecurity organizations or companies for that user entity based detection, right? Or those advanced SOARs and SIMs out there that can even detect this kind of stuff. And then really as well, I think it's visibility on your environment. All of your inputs and all of your network devices, all of your end users, they'll have to have some type of agent installed onto them, right? That can feed those specific logging mechanisms. That's expensive. Other than that, like this is a very advanced botnet, right? So it's gonna take a while for just the regular organization, or even like a lot of probably startups are probably could be affected by this type of let's just say dynamic botnet, right? So I'll just leave it at that. Ryan, what are your thoughts?
No, I think you guys are again spot on. I think the apprehension I have with it is because everybody's like, it's just gaming. Like, what's the big deal? I mean, aside from me enjoying the hobby, like millions of other people, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? Just Fortnite itself, like, so you probably could see my fingers moving. I thought about how much does Fortnite make a day? The answer to that is roughly $2.3 million per day. It services 650 million registered users, and they gross at its peak in 2003. It was grossing $5.4 billion a year. That's how
Unreal.
much just Fortnite is making, right? Well, obviously Fortnite's a juggernaut in this sector. It being 1 in every 10 minutes of gaming is spent in Fortnite, so it has a tenth of all gaming. So that's the extreme case. There's also smaller companies as well as games as well that are, budding or trying to take off. But I say that to say, this could be pretty disruptive when it comes to a just financial sector situation, right? Because how much is invested in games as big as Fortnite, how many people play them, reputational damage and things of that nature, and inconvenience, and just how disruptive it could be to their profit and loss sheets. Because if it's making $2.7 million a day, how much are they spending a day to keep it up and running, what have you, right? All that's not pure profit. So it could really be topsy-turvy if they were to be targeted in a campaign like this, and it for it to be successful, right? So gaming does make a lot of dough, so to speak. But you're going to say, Shannon?
So it's not necessarily like, so when it comes to Fortnite, like they can weather that cost, right? Because of what they're making. But these smaller
Right.
developmental companies, are they going to be able to keep up? Like having to, like what Chris was alluding to, right? With having to have that more security in there to prevent against these things. If you're a smaller
Mm-hmm.
company that's a startup, it may be cost prohibitive for you, right? Like you just can't keep up with it. You just may not even get off the ground. There could be some diamond in the rough down there in one of these small companies that could just blow up to be the next Minecraft or Fortnite or whatever, right? It doesn't get
Yeah,
together.
absolutely. And you hope so, because I'm getting sick of the same games being in the top 10 or what have you. But
Fortnite's
so,
been on.
If that's the case, then you're not buying GTA. Is that what you're telling me? If that's the case, then you're not buying
oh no,
GTA.
I'm buying
Okay.
GTA. I'm buying. I've been waiting 12 years for GTA, 13 when it comes out. All right, I'm getting it. I'm getting that thing. But another key statistic, Fortnite statistic, right? So it's made by Epic Games, the makers of Unreal Engine and things of that nature, right? So you think like, they just use them as an example, not saying they were targeted, but just saying like a company as big as Epic, they could be detrimental only because of, as of 2023, 80% of Epic Games revenue was Fortnite. So even though they are one of the biggest engines out there that everybody's using, right? Any game you can think of is on Unreal or moving to Unreal. Still, Fortnite was as big as generator of income. Again, it's kind of topsy turvy in that regard. So you just never know how impactful something like this could be. Like people are like, it's just gaming, but yeah, like if they were to target an Epic, they could hurt them pretty bad, pretty fast when it comes to their number one source of revenue being Fortnite. So yeah, pretty crazy statistics. So I think that pretty much does it for this episode. So again, Monday, Tuesday are topics, Wednesday discussion, Thursdays Ask a CISSP. I'm holding that one off until next week. I think it's next week, so you'll see it fairly soon. And then Fridays, everything else, movies, books, games, all that cool stuff. You can find us on all your podcast platforms of choice. You can find us on the radio, 99.1 FM. You can find us on Public Access, Channel 10 in the DC Fairfax area. Of course, YouTube, Rep in Tech. And we're also got some surprises, right? Check out the newsletter, the weekly rundown. That one just came back online. So 2 weeks in a row. It's a start, people. All right. We took a 6-month hiatus, and then go to the website. So theothersideofthefirewall.com or ramcyber.io. You can check out all of our content there, as well as you can see the book. The book is coming out soon, so it's with the editor now. Hit me up at RyRy Security Guy. That's RY Security Guy. You can find me pretty much everywhere, but LinkedIn is where I'm most active. And where can they find you, Chris?
You can find me on LinkedIn under my name, Chris Sabacon, last name spelled A. Bacon.
There it is. Stay safe. Stay secure.